Texas man is behind bars for allegedly headbutting his father-in-law to death at a local bar. The incident occurred at around midnight on the 12th of August, when the authorities received reports of a disturbance at Woody's Tavern in Bryant Irvin Road in Fort Worth, Texas, after a fight broke out between 38-year-old John Birdwell and 66-year-old Robert Bearden. John was talking to his wife's father at the bar about his troubled marriage, and Robert tried to convince his son-in-law to sign divorce papers, which he filed in late November. John suddenly lost control and allegedly grabbed his father-in-law's head and headbutted him multiple times, causing the two to fall onto the ground. John got on top of Robert. He was unconscious at the time, but bar patrons pulled John away. Before authorities arrived, John allegedly bit a patron on the chest, who tried pinning him down, and John managed to flee the scene. When the authorities arrived at the tavern, they found a disorientated and confused Robert bleeding from the head. A witness explained to police that Robert told John he was unhappy with him for stalling the divorce and urged him over and over to sign the papers. The witness reportedly noted that Robert was not aggressive during the argument. He was transported to a local hospital where he died from his injuries the following evening. His cause of death was determined to be from blunt force trauma to the head, and his death was ruled a homicide. Surveillance cameras at the venue captured the fatal attack, which lasted 18 seconds. On the 18th of June, John was arrested. That same day, his wife filed for and was granted an order of protection against him. John has been charged with injury to an elderly person with intent to cause serious bodily injury. John is held at the Tarrant County Jail on a $75,000 bond. Robert was a veterinarian at the VCA Mercedes Place Animal Hospital in Benbrook, Texas. The investigation into the matter continues. 37-year-old Orville Dean Fairweather has been arrested and charged for murdering his 34-year-old wife, Jalecia Fairweather. The incident occurred at around 7:50 a.m. on the 21st of August, when the authorities responded to reports of shooting inside a home at the intersection of Maryland Park Drive and Athena Street in Capitol Heights, Maryland. When officers arrived, they found Jalecia suffering from a gunshot wound. She was transported to a local hospital, but died shortly thereafter. A preliminary investigation determined that Orville allegedly shot his wife during a dispute. Orville was arrested without incident and charged with murder. He is currently held without bond. The investigation into the shooting continues. 21-year-old Keon Strobridge has been arrested and charged with murder in the fatal shooting of 55-year-old Nesreddin Özleyman. The incident occurred at around 6:20 a.m. on the 10th of August in the 5400 block of Chesterfield Drive in Temple Hills, Maryland, when the authorities were called out to perform a welfare check on Nesreddin, who was working as a rideshare driver at the time. When the authorities arrived, they found him dead in his vehicle. The authorities said the motive for the attack was attempted robbery. Uber said in a statement, "We can't imagine the sorrow Keon's loved ones are facing in the wake of this senseless act of violence." Uber added that we're ready to assist law enforcement with their investigation and want to make sure those responsible for the crime are held accountable. Keon is held in custody without bond. 31-year-old Joshua Oakley has pleaded guilty to the 2019 death of his girlfriend's 6-year-old child, Camden Blair. He was babysitting and has been sentenced to 45 years behind bars. The incident occurred at around 9:30 p.m. on the 12th of November 2019, when Joshua was babysitting his girlfriend's son at a residence in Tupelo, Mississippi, when the child suffered severe burns in a bathtub. Joshua reportedly waited for around 8 hours before he sought medical attention for the boy. At around 5:30 in the morning, Joshua carried the boy to the North Mississippi Medical Center with life-threatening injuries. The boy was later transferred to the burn unit at the Arkansas Children's Hospital in Little Rock, Arkansas. That same day, Joshua was arrested and charged with child abuse. He was booked into the Lee County Jail without bond. On the 30th of November, the boy died, and Joshua's initial charge of child abuse was upgraded to capital murder. An autopsy determined that the boy died of trauma consistent with being beaten. The child reportedly suffered not only burns, but also pre-existing and healing rib fractures. Joshua, a single father of 4 preteen children, pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and child neglect and was sentenced to 45 years in prison on the 21st of August 2022. He was going to be facing the death penalty prior to a plea deal. During sentencing, John said, "I want to apologize to the victim's family and to my family as well, for putting them in the situation we are in today. Disabled Texas woman, 57-year-old Patricia Martinez, died on the afternoon on the 20th of August in the San Antonio hospital after she was rescued from her home by the Bexar County Sheriff's deputies 2 days prior. The authorities came to Patricia's aid on the 18th of August and found the bedridden mother living in filthy conditions, with insect infestation in her room and mold growing in parts of her body and suffering from a kidney failure. She was found wearing an adult diaper packed with feces in a dried state, who was physically causing infections in other parts of her body. Sheriff Javier Salazar said that they were tipped off to Patricia's neglected condition by the Adult Protective Services, who said they were concerned about a steep decline in her level of health. That same day, the victim's children, 37-year-old Oscar Dominguez, 24-year-old Roxana Carrero, and 18-year-old Pedro Carrero, were all arrested and charged with injury to a disabled person with serious bodily injury. It's unclear whether these charges will be upgraded since Patricia's passed away. Javier said that all 3 children lived with their mother at their family home and were their caregivers and had been trained how to care for her, and it appeared that none of them were doing what they're supposed to have been doing. Just prior to her death, Javier said, "It's likely she's going to pay with her life for their neglect. God have mercy on their souls when their time comes," he said. All 3 children remained at the Bexar County Jail with their bonds set at $85,000 each.